And joining us now, it is time for our sustainable soy updates. And we are talking high oleic soybean varieties and more. Joining us for this week's conversation is John Jansen. He is United Soybean Board's Senior Vice President of Marketing. And John, thank you for joining us here this week on the Sustainable Soy Update. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, let's just start. How is the United Soybean Board expanding high oleic soybean varieties to really help farmers access premium markets? And what's the benefits of growing high oleic soybeans, John?
Well, the benefits to farmers is a handsome premium. You're looking currently last year a number that was probably about $1.50 per bushel across the entire enterprise. So that's in a down year with the bushel being compressed a little bit, that's a great return as we look forward to this next crop year. We do anticipate that the bushel premium might be down a little bit, but nothing earth shattering. So the farmers have been investing in the high oleic varietals since about 2012. They initially worked heavily with Bayer and Corteva to get main varieties out from 0 to 7, investing heavily in helping those two companies develop varieties. Today, 31 producing soy states and 16 roughly can now grow high oleic, and that number is going to be getting bigger. So that's where the focus has been. We farmers don't really support the big dollars of Corteva and Bayer at this point. They're solidly producing the varieties, but the growers have found some really interesting smaller markets for high oleic, which are in the non-GMO, the soyleic varieties, and are you'll see soon a ZCal variety, which has some really interesting agronomics in that it sequesters more carbon, produces a variety that has higher oil content and a premium protein for that feed side. So all good stuff still being invested on by the checkoff.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the advantages of high oleic soybeans, specifically for food applications, and why it's becoming popular with food companies, restaurants, and even sports teams, John.
Yeah, so you're looking at a product in high oleic that is the equivalent of olive oil without that olive oil flavor. You've got monounsaturates, heart healthy monounsaturates that are around 75% into the low 80s. You have lower saturated fat. The product naturally, as soy, produces an extremely stable product because of residual tocopherol in the processing component, which gives it a great shelf life. Gives us the ability to take out weird things that are in food like BHA and TBHQ, the extenders that keep crackers fresh and things like that on a shelf that consumers don't want to see. With the presence of the stability of this product, you don't have to add those things. So you get a very clean label product. You also get premium frying shortening that fries substantially longer than equivalent products that are polyunsaturated.
How about the use of high oleic soybean oil in things like industrial products? I think about asphalt, bio-based straws. Talk about some of that. What makes these uses environmentally friendly as well?
Yep, that is really where the market is headed. You've got a system here. If you think about the food side, they're basically using the high oleic soy as is, as a frying shortening medium, as a spray oil for crackers, as I said. It's just as oil. What you find on the industrial side is they're extracting the oleic content of the product being high, again, 75 to 83%. They're extracting that oleic content for novel chemistry applications that allow the product to substitute for petroleum. So you're getting a green product that's biodegradable, that is very functional in displacing petroleum-based products going forward. So, as we look at the sustainability metrics that are required for soy and all the measurements that we're doing and things on farm, the ability to replace any of that petroleum material going forward is just something the farmers are very focused on.
Well, John, with high oleic soybean oil gaining traction in new markets like the dairy sector, too, what opportunities do you see for farmers growing these different high oleic soybean varieties in the years ahead?
Well, let me hit on the exciting part. It's just a little crazy, but the USB's over the last 5 years has been investing heavily in research that looked at feeding high oleic meal and oil to dairy cattle. Anecdotally, originally, there was this suppression of milk fat reduction that was seen, but over the last few years, we can confidently indicate that a single dairy cow on a daily basis, that the farmer with that cow is going to be generating something like an extra dollar per day in output for increased butter fat coming from that meal and oil by feeding a soybean rich and high oleic. And so that has really taken off. We have seen the dairy side of the high oleic feedstock go from roughly zero to 2 years ago to where it's upwards of 55% of all bean demand at this point in time. And it's really going to change the model going forward and accelerate the acres available to farmers through 2030 in a significant manner. The only slowdown we have at the moment is because of we're adding the new herbicide traits. We've gone back to a closed loop system. So the dairy is extremely timely in that food and industrial applications are somewhat stagnant until 2026 before we see that next big bump. So the farmers are very excited to see dairy adding on to those results and bringing premiums back to the farm.
John, good thoughts. Anything else you would like to add on this week's Sustainable Soy Update?
No, I mean, we still see growth. We see an exciting market here with the future. We're running analyses that we expect to see in the area of 10% of all soy acres by 2030 being represented by high oleic, and that's being fairly conservative with this dairy market. So a lot of great opportunity for high oleic going forward. So sustainable future on the industrial side. It's all looking good at the moment. Thank you so much.
You bet. And John, too, real fast, if folks want to learn more about growing high oleic soybeans or more of the work that Checkoff is doing, I'm sure starting online, unitedsoybean.org, that's at least one way they can get started to learn more, right, John?
Absolutely. They can also check the Pioneer web pages for elevator systems and processors that are taking the material directly close to their farms. We'd love to see more expansion. So thank you.
You bet. Again, find more online, unitedsoybean.org. That is all the time we have for this week's Sustainable Soy Update. John Jansen with the United Soybean Board. John, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.